Let me jump right in here. First of all, let me also uh, s- say real quick, um, we had a couple of things to take care of, and it really took my attention until early this morning. Um, I think I didn't turn in until right around 5 o'clock or so. So that's why 9 o'clock is not why this started or when this started. I'm a little bit behind. I said 9 o'clock last night that I would be doing this live, but for those of you that were waiting, that's why. Um, so again, this is at a whim, and um, things do come up. My attention had to be elsewhere. Anyway, let me jump right in because there's someone that I said that I would touch on a question first before I finished what I was talking about last night so that they can hear this, um, because they're actually they're not going to be able to jump into the live while they're heading in. So they really wanted to hear this. Let me touch on this first. Um, Real quick. Okay, so instead of jumping into the fines, let me jump into this one. And this is going to open up for the individual that I spoke with last night, right around midnight. This is going to open up what I was going to share for you to understand, because there's quite a few people talking about this. So the question is twofold. First question: what exactly are these? No, that's about the fines. Um, Here it is. Uh, how has he being the leader, put himself in this position and gotten away with this for so long if all these things are true? Um, and I think I understand what they're saying, but let me ask something that I think a lot of people are thinking, but may not be saying out loud. This individual's asking again how he put himself in position, and how did he, I think, if this is inaccurate, please write back and let me know. But I think this person is saying, how did they do what they were doing over a period of time? Because I mentioned in a video, um, for right around 15 to 16 years, this individual would have been doing things to put into place while also knowing that they're going to be in the position to reap the most benefits. And let me go ahead and share with you so that you understand. Um, Let me ask this way: if all of this has truth to it, if all the information that I'm sharing has any truth to it, then how would this current leader, or any leader for that matter, how would they even get into this position in the first place and stay there this long? I think that is what the person who is asking this is saying. Again, if not, write your question again so that I understand. But that's something that a lot of people are asking or wondering, because this is just, it's difficult to not only imagine but believe how somebody would have done this without people seeing what they're doing. Um, but it doesn't usually happen all at once. A lot of situations like this, you need time in order to gain people's trust. Um, you need to take responsibility on little by little. Let me explain it this way. Um, okay. So here's the answer to the question. This might take maybe 5 to 10 minutes. For that person who's heading into work, this may take about 5 or 10 minutes. And I know you're driving, so just pay attention. I'm going to try to make this as clear as I possibly can. I have 3 constitutions. This is 3 versions of our Constitution. I have the last one on its way that I've been kind of sitting on. But anyway, I have 2009, I have 2022, and I have 2023 constitutions. Now, let's talk about the current position known as the Chief Executive Officer. We've been talking about patterns and being able to look at patterns and how these patterns work. What do these patterns show over time? Over a period of time, as we talked about the documents, you can see patterns being set. And if there's a pattern being set, then that pattern shows the intent behind something that's not easily seen if there is no pattern. So, why am I talking about the constitutions? So, in the beginning of the Constitution, you'll see the first time the Constitution was amended, it was in 1962. Then it was amended in 1963. Then it was amended in 1973. It was also amended in 1992, and it was amended in 2002. So those 5 times the Constitution was amended before 2009. Each time the Constitution was amended, you had a small number of changes each time. The largest number of changes came in 2009. But before that, each time the Constitution was changed or amended, there was only a few changes. So, again, you have to pay attention to where this is going. 4 changes, 3 changes, 5 changes, 7 changes. In 2009, I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 changes. These are amendments. Now, going back, I'm sorry, let me make one adjustment. Again, I'm making sure that I give you accurate and correct information. This is the first time I went all the way back to 1963. Let me come back and make these corrections. There was 20 changes in 1963, amendments. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 amendments in 1992. 1, 2, 3 amendments in 2009. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 amendments in 2009. So why am I counting this? At the back of the book, the Constitution in 2009, you will see the names Mr. Bailey and Mr. Cunningham, okay, and the amendments of 2009. This is telling us that the current leader was a part of this process since 2009. since 2009. 2007 is when the conversation came up pertaining to the General Assembly Secretary. The General Assembly Secretary would then be changed. And you saw one of the documents that I had shown that shows the exact year going into 2008 when the state document had a different name before this current leader became the General Assembly Secretary. The General Assembly Secretary was Mr. Price, Mr. R. Price, out of Washington, D.C. He's still currently the pastor of Charlotte Mission. After he was the General Assembly Secretary, Mr. Cunningham's name appeared on state documents as the General Assembly Secretary, 2008 and forward. So from 2008 to 2018 is 10 years. From 2018 to 2026, this will be 18 years coming up May 2026. So before I go any further, 18 years, we know that Mr. Cunningham has had a hand in the upper levels of decision making and choices being made by the leaders of the organization, choices and decisions that the members knew nothing about whatsoever. Now, 18 years, he has now been in the position as CEO for just over 2 years, going on 2.5 years. So that's 18, take away 2, 16 years. So let's say 15 and a half years prior to becoming CEO. After being the CEO, 18 years, 18 and a half. Why is that important for us to understand? Because if the question is, how did he rise to this position? How did he do it so that people don't know? Then the answer to that question is because there's things going on behind closed doors that members know nothing about. And this is why it's important for all of us to ask these questions. Now, that brings me to this change. Because if Mr. Cunningham is in this book, then from 2008, which is when they prepared to make the changes for 2009, okay? In 2008, preparations were being made to change the Constitution. Now, how do they change the Constitution? How do we amend the Constitution in the organization? It's supposed to be by the people making decisions and choices in the votes being held within the congregations. But remember, the amendments to the Constitution were not being put into the hands of the people according to what we see in writing. Allegedly, the constitutions say that the people did not have a part of the process because remember, while they're signing the back of the book to confirm what the results are, in the front of the book, we see the same dates that the people had no part of the process. So Mr. Cunningham was a part of this entire amendment change all the way back in 2008 in order to change 2009 Constitution. The amendments had to be put in here with his knowledge. The amendments had to be put in here without the knowledge of the people. If he was the General Assembly Secretary at that time, then he knew, according to what's in this book, what was going on way back in 2008, while he would have been working to have the amendments put inside of the Constitution. When he signed the book, it was before the General Assembly was even held. And again, the information appears to look like the members had no knowledge of it and had no input. So once again, that's in 2009, he first had a hand in changing the Constitution. Now let's jump to 2022. If it's true that he had inside knowledge with changing the Constitution in 2009, and we see in 2022 the same names right here in the back, Mr. Bailey and Mr. Cunningham. If we see those same names, then what that means, according to what we're reading, it looks like Mr. Cunningham is fully aware of all of the changes in 2022. Now, I also pointed out in the minutes of the 2022 General Assembly held in May that Mr. Bailey gave everyone in the General Assembly the names of the 4 people that were on the Constitution Revision Committee. Those names were Judge Clarence Cuthbert out of Georgia. Those names also included the attorney, his daughter, Mickey Bailey. Those names included Mr. Jimmy Johnson, the current pastor of New York Mother House, the chairman there, also the current General Assembly Secretary, and Mr. Cunningham, the General Assembly Secretary at that time. So those 4 people had to keep that information to themselves. Mr. Cunningham had to be used at that time in order to see to it that this was made. Again, the members of the organization could not know anything about it. So what was done in 2008 was once again done in 2021. It had to be before the General Assembly was held in those years. So in 2008, they were preparing and making changes to the Constitution that would come out in May of 2009. And Mr. Cunningham had a hand in that, and that information had to remain quiet without the members of the organization knowing anything. But he knew what was going on as he was the General Assembly Secretary, and he had to push these amendments into the Constitution, but it had to be done in the General Assembly so that the people are under the impression that they are the ones that brought forward this new Constitution. It had to look like the General Assembly approved and revised the Constitution. And it looks like Mr. Cunningham was the one who was responsible to see to it that this Constitution goes into effect. 2009, 2022, this is the one that has the 46, and then I said 49 changes. And Mr. Cunningham was the one who had to see this through. So I'm going to make one statement for the individual who has to get to work. All this time in 18 years, Mr. Cunningham knew that these things had to remain outside the knowledge of the people. So while it looks like certain things are being done for Mr. Cunningham to get another title, he was bumped up from General Assembly Secretary to being made a judge. I think that was in 2014. I could be wrong there, but he became head judge. I think that was around 2018. And then he was bumped up to senior minister right around 2020, 2021. Now, what does all of this mean? It means that the former leader and whoever else, in this case, Miss Dolores Madison, would have been pleased enough with his performance behind the scenes that no one knows anything about, that there would be decisions made to have him push forward since he's been faithful, dedicated, and loyal in being the General Assembly Secretary since 2008 and seeing to it that this Constitution went into effect and no one was the wiser. Since 2008 and over 10 years later, 2018, 19, 20, 21, 13 years later, after this, they would start working on this. In 2021, before May of 22, if he was the General Assembly Secretary, the head judge on the council, and the senior minister, then that means while he's working on this Constitution, on the Constitution Review Committee, then that means, not review, Constitution Revision Committee, then that means that in the back of his mind, he's already looking at himself being in the chair as CEO. For 18 years, no, let's say before the seat, before the election, for 16 years, he already knew that he had been quiet about changing the Constitution. So when the 22 version comes up, there's 46 changes. Why so many changes? Because if I'm on the Constitution Revision Committee and I see that I'm next in line after this one, well, I'm going to make as many recommendations as possible, and I'm going to make the Constitution airtight. I want this Constitution to be jam-packed with all kinds of protections that if anything comes up, I will be protected, not only according to what's in this Constitution, but I'm going to make all kinds of recommendations. I'm going to change all kinds of things so that I can be even more protected. And that's why, in my opinion, this Constitution was done with 46 to 49 changes because the individual who helped put this one together, they knew the whole time they were working on this one that it looks like they're going to be next. So while I'm making recommendations to the former leader to change this Constitution now, which was kept secret, and make more changes, why stop at 10 or 11 changes if I'm going to be next? Why not throw as much as I possibly can in there so that I'm the one that it will protect most? So we see 46 to 49 changes. And once again, Mr. Bailey and Mr. Cunningham's name is at the back of this. I do not see Mr. Bailey making all these changes for himself because Mr. Bailey was already at right around 13 years, 13, 14 years as the bishop. And again, it looks like he knew, Mr. Cunningham knew what was coming up. So now this Constitution would be backed up by this Constitution. So let me bring everyone up to speed before we answer those questions. How could this have been done without anybody knowing? Over those years, nobody has challenged the leaders pertaining to the events that took place to make changes to our Constitution. So as long as nobody was challenging the leaders, they could continue doing what they did behind closed doors. In 2023, this Constitution was written to update this one with accurate information that was not available in 2022. So in 2023, they brought this one out. 2023 is when my wife and I were there to try to bring forward to the members of the organization the problems and the faults with this Constitution. Now, since they successfully, by they, also meaning Mr. Cunningham, successfully kept me off the floor in the General Assembly, I could not bring any attention whatsoever to the Constitution and why the members need to do everything they can to fix these problems. Because Mr. Cunningham in 2023 knew what he had done to this Constitution. And he knew what he had done to this Constitution. But more importantly, he also knew that he, it looks like, is next in line. So if he's next in line in 2023, then he needs to do everything he can to protect this Constitution, because this Constitution is jam-packed with all types of protections, as I've been talking about, for the leader. This Constitution, if you go through it carefully, it appears that the people have no power whatsoever, that the people have no choice, no options whatsoever. This Constitution makes it appear as if the whole organization is subservient to one person. And even the body known as the General Council is working for that one person in this Constitution, just like in this one. It looks like the General Assembly and secretary in this Constitution continues to work for one person, just like in this one and just like in this one. So wrapping this up, what are we talking about here? We're talking about somebody in a position who kept to himself for now 18 years the things that were being done silently behind the scene to make sure no one knew what anything whatsoever about the one book that is the absolute most important book of this entire organization. This person knew that this book is the book that would be used even outside of the organization, so that other administrative bodies would enforce this book. The Constitution is the one book that every member needs to understand. In any institution that you're in, you need to understand what's inside this book. And this book has been changed over and over and over again. And Mr. Cunningham has had a hand in changing this one, and this one. So now we have a total of 4 constitutions that Mr. Cunningham has changed. Y'all say, wait a minute, he's holding up 3 books. Yes, this is 2009, 2022, 2023. Mr. Cunningham also changed 2024 when he saw fit to work along with the last leader to make sure I could not come out onto the floor in 2023. In October As I've stated, he made sure that myself and my wife were not in the General Assembly so that we could bring these matters forward. And he saw fit, as I showed, to put himself in the seat. This is what all the information is looking like. If I'm correct, if all of these things are true, then that would mean that Mr. Cunningham has kept a lot of things quiet to make sure he could put himself exactly where he is right now, and then control everything in here to see to it that Mr. Lewis and his wife has no opportunity to come forward before the members of the organization to explain any of this, because all of the documents show that I am correct and 100% on point when it comes to revealing what happened. So the 2024 Constitution, what is the difference there? There was one more change that Mr. Cunningham made sure that he added to the Constitution. And that change was to put his name inside of it as the current CEO and to say, Regulations Article 6, the Chief Executive Officer would now be Mr. A.D. Cunningham, and he would remain in that position for the period of his natural life. That's the one change that he added to the 2024. Now, 2024, I'm going to come back. I've been waiting to come forward with that. But I'm going to come back and I'm going to point out the change with that, as well as the minutes that were taken in the 2023 General Assembly and the 2024 General Assembly. And I may go into some of the information from the 2025 General Assembly. And the purpose of doing that is to show everyone how all of this comes together, neatly tucked and boxed and wrapped, so that everybody understands every single thing. But the point that I'm making right now, for that individual asking, well, how did the rise? How did it happen over time? And no one saw it because it happened behind the scenes. So in the front, all we need to do is cooperate and lift and lift and lift this person. And exactly what you see Mr. Jimmy Jones doing right now is exactly what happened with Mr. Cunningham, because we see the pattern that's being set, the pattern that's been consistent. So Mr. Jimmy Jones was on the 2021 Constitution Revision Committee to help change the 2022 Constitution without the people's knowledge. Mr. Jones sat back while the General Assembly Secretary, Mr. Cunningham, pushed it through the General Assembly without the members knowing, and while he knew that the Constitution had already been printed up and is waiting to go on sale to the members of the General Assembly right after the General Assembly is concluded. Mr. Jones sat back quietly and he waited. So after 2022 had been completed in May, what's interesting is that the leaders said, and it's written in the minutes, that we have been working on this Constitution for 8 months. The leaders said, we, meaning the Constitution Revision Committee and himself, 5 people, have been working on this Constitution for 8 months. Well, that means from May, if you count the time that Mr. Jimmy Jones became the chairman of New York, he was moved and made the chairman in 2021, if I'm not mistaken. So October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May. So 8 months is September. So if they've been working on that for 8 months, then Mr. Jimmy Jones would have been on that committee since September. So after September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May. That's when Mr. Bailey's coming forward in 2022 General Assembly to introduce this Constitution with all of those changes. And Mr. Jimmy Jones was actively involved. So what that tells me, if I'm correct, is that Mr. Jimmy Jones was rewarded with the chairmanship position of New York for working on this Constitution and keeping it to himself. So now that Mr. Jimmy Jones was moved from Hickory, Virginia to New York and made the chairman of New York, that gives him an automatic seat on the General Council. Remember, he was in Hickory, but he was already being used in Hickory because they had appointed him as one of the staff persons in the McCullough Theological Seminary in Richmond, Virginia. Whenever you are about to be pushed forward in the eyes of the people, assignments and titles are given to you so that people can start seeing you. So the first time he was used was in the McCullough Theological Seminary. And again, while he was working and keeping things from coming forward, doing a good job, he would be pushed forward a little bit more. So after working with the Theological Seminary, he was selected to work on the Constitution Revision Committee, hand in hand with one other minister in the entire organization, who happened to be the same General Assembly secretary who successfully pushed through 2009 Constitution, Mr. A.D. Cunningham, and a judge and a lawyer who happened to be the daughter of the CEO at the time and a friend of the CEO at the time. So those 3 individuals working with the CEO, they pull in Mr. Jimmy Jones. He keeps quiet. He's rewarded in 2021 becoming the chairman. Now, why am I saying all of that? Because he kept quiet 2022 when the Constitution came forward. What happened in 2023? Now we see Mr. Jimmy Jones has been bumped up and pushed forward again. Because in 2023, he's now General Assembly Secretary. I'm sorry, in 2024. In 2024, he gets bumped up to General Assembly Secretary. And it's the council's job to make sure that he's nominated and elected inside the General Assembly. So after he becomes the General Assembly Secretary, Mr. Cunningham, who's the current General Assembly Secretary, who worked on 3 constitutions now, 2009, 2022, 2023. Mr. Cunningham, who's also the head judge and who's also the senior minister, ends up somehow becoming the next CEO. What does he do? 2024, after becoming CEO, he makes Mr. Jimmy Jones a judge on the general counsel. Here's the pattern. So the exact same thing that happened to Mr. Cunningham over this 16-year period, quietly being pushed forward in front of the people, while also keeping quiet and working behind the scenes and keeping information from the people. He's being pushed forward. And each time he's being pushed forward, he's also being elevated and pushed higher and higher and higher in the organization. Mr. Jimmy Jones, faster than anybody I've seen, was pushed forward from pastor of Hickory to theological seminary instructor to Constitution Revision Committee to General Assembly Secretary to now a judge on the General Counsel. All of that took him less than 5 years. It took Mr. Cunningham approximately 13 years. But Mr. Jimmy Jones, Mr. Jimmy Jones, he's been pushed forward faster because you now have people challenging the leaders with all this information that no one knows anything about. So now Mr. Jimmy Jones has got to be pushed forward faster in order to serve in the capacity of what Mr. Cunningham is wanting. The Constitution says that there's a person that they don't have yet that needs to be in place in order to protect the CEO. In Article 7, Section 8G of the 2023 Constitution, it says the senior minister who shall preside over the trial of the bishop. They need somebody in the position as senior minister in order to fulfill this portion of the Constitution. I said last year that I believe they're trying to push Mr. Jimmy Jones forward to make him the senior minister. All of the patterns look like Mr. Jimmy Jones is being pushed into that position the same way Mr. Cunningham was pushed in that position. So over the last 16 years, the current CEO had knowledge of things that he was doing behind closed doors that none of the members knew anything about while he's being pushed forward. So why is that so important? Because the whole time that he was working on these two constitutions, 22 and 23, he had himself in mind. This is my opinion. He was thinking of himself when he added 46 changes along with the order of precedence that's in the beginning of the book. That makes 49 changes to the Constitution. And then 50 if you add the change that he made to 2023. When you get to 2024, he's putting his own name inside the book. And in the minutes of the 2024 General Assembly, I can show you where there's more information being given that looks like it's not so true. And just like all this other information, where we're looking at information that appears to be falsified in order to show a picture to officials in different states around the country, this information is being put forward to draw a picture to make it look like the organization has a board of directors. Other times it doesn't have a board of directors according to the paperwork. This paperwork inside the organization makes it look like to the members everything is legit, everything is what it's supposed to be, everything is in line with the laws of the land, and everything has been pushed to give the people inside the organization the impression that he's the one behind this. All of this is his doing, right? This is his doing. Now, y'all remember this, because this is the symbol, this is the sign that people keep making when they want you to think it has nothing to do with them, right? They point up so that everybody here is of the impression, I didn't do this. I didn't do this at all. This wasn't me. And if you recall, on October 13, 2023, after the election, the current CEO came out the door at 6 and M Street. And when he came out the door, what did he do? He had everybody direct their attention up to give the impression, this wasn't me. None of this was my doing. This was him. But what all the paperwork is showing, what the patterns are showing, the documents look like, all these constitutions look like, the adding of law books that the members don't have anything to do with look like he didn't have anything to do with this. Because one thing about him, if you look at Titus, first chapter of the epistle written by Titus, in the second verse, it says that he cannot lie. And all this documentation looks like there's falsified information all over the place. And for the individual who pays attention and who compares all this information and puts it side by side, it begins to draw a picture that there's something being done knowingly. And even if you don't believe that these things were known, well, the paperwork that was filed around the country, the paperwork now allows the members to see for themselves that, yeah, things were known. This is why Mr. Murray's name is plastered all over the place. And this is why things were filed 5 days after the election. 5 days after he walked out and did that, 5 days later, after that, we see Rodriguez Murray's name all over this organization's documents for state officials to see his name, and members all around the organization have no clue why or what purpose his name serves. But there is one other person who does know why Mr. Murray's name is all over the place. There's one person in the organization who does know the purpose of Mr. Murray's name being all over the place. There's one person in the organization who's known for almost 20 years things around the organization that nobody else would have known. And he was so quiet that he was able to rise without anybody saying a word. So now that brings me back to this point. And let me say this also. Right now in Florida, there's this pastors' wives conference being held. Someone reminded me of this yesterday. And before I forget, I want to touch on that. I told them I would touch on that. They asked, what did I think about this? I think it's another show. I think it's one more program that's being pushed in front of the people to distract people from what's really going on. I think that it's a shame. I think that it's more ridicule. And quite frankly, I think that all of the people need to pay very, very close attention to what's being done here as well. Because if the First Lady is having a pastor's wives conference, then that in itself reflects on the First Lady. And whatever the First Lady does reflects on her husband. The problem with a pastor's wives conference is if you're going to have any type of conference, then the idea is you're going to teach, you're going to train, you're going to give information that's going to enhance individuals' knowledge to make them better. The problem with the First Lady giving a pastor's wives conference is all these years we have not seen the First Lady appearing with her husband. For years, her husband pastored in different places, but we didn't see the First Lady with him. For years, the First Lady, while her husband was traveling, we didn't see her. She was almost a non-factor. For years, it was such an awkward relationship in the sense that it looked like while he's busy traveling or representing or pastoring, the question quite often was, where is the wife? Now, this is not the only time this has happened. Quite often we've seen different councilmen and chairmen travel and their wife is not with them. But this is different because this is the only pastor's wife that I'm aware of that has done things that are highly questionable in the organization. To give an example, I talked about something that somebody else brought to my attention, 2 or 3 people actually, that the First Lady had put a Raggedy Ann doll year after year after year on Daddy's Club, um, and did it again this year. And I always thought this was strange, but it was brought to my attention on just last night. Actually, I had no knowledge. I did not think about it. I didn't connect the dots. But let me share with you all. If you go online um, and pull up something about an Annabelle doll, okay, ANNABELLE doll on Google, it says the Annabelle doll is a real life, allegedly haunted Raggedy Ann doll from the 1970s, famously known for being possessed by a demonic entity rather than a young girl's spirit. This is saying that the doll known as Raggedy Ann, there's an Annabelle doll that is famous because it is said that that doll, Raggedy Ann doll, is possessed by a demonic spirit. It says she is notoriously associated with moving on her own and causing or being connected to violent occurrences, as documented by paranormal investigators Ed and Lauren Warren. I had no idea why the doll was named Anne. Apparently, Anne is short for Annabelle, and she's called Raggedy because of the history of the doll named Annabelle being associated with violence. And it's been documented that the doll would move on its own. And it's said to have the possession of a demonic spirit, which is why it's called Raggedy Ann. When I saw this, I thought, oh, what in the world is going on? Now, even though it's possible that she doesn't know, it's possible. But for others to have brought this to my attention, if nothing else at all, without even knowing about this doll named Annabelle, it should have never, in my opinion, been allowed for a pastor's wife to be taking a doll baby and bringing it to the house of prayer and lauding it while giving all types of accolades to a doll baby because I am putting $2,000 on the name of this doll baby. Now, again, this is the first lady of the entire organization now. This is the wife of Mr. Cunningham, who the entire organization knows consistently and continuously putting $2,000 on a report in the name of a doll baby. It's like a puppet. I have a puppet, and I'm going to put a G-class report in the name of a puppet. I became angry the first time I saw it back in 2020. And this was done again this year. I did not understand it, but I often said to myself, there's no way in the world that anybody, any pastor should be allowing their wife to put a doll baby in a club where money is being reported for this doll baby to get credit for it. And to my surprise, the leader, the CEO, said nothing about it. To my surprise, after the CEO changed, the current CEO has continued to say nothing about it. It has not been stopped. It has not been discontinued. This, in my opinion, has been mockery of the program. When I was indoctrinated, I was angry. I didn't say anything to anyone, but I was angry. But now that I learned about Annabelle last night, I said I had to bring that information onto the channel so that everybody else is aware of it and bring that information to her so that she no longer continues to put any money on the name of a doll, especially a doll that has connections through history to being possessed by a demon. If she doesn't have the wherewithal to stop this behavior, then her husband should have her discontinue putting a doll baby on this club reporting money for this doll to get credit. I thought the entire time this has been strange behavior. And for him to be the CEO representing the entire organization, to be an example for the entire organization, it is mockery. It's something that raises all kinds of questions. And for this individual to be holding a pastor's wives conference, if my I would never allow my wife to go if she wanted to, but I'm sure my wife would not want nothing at all to do with any conference that's being held at all whatsoever. It does not matter what the title is. It does not matter what the position is. It does not matter. Everything that we do is to be done in the appearance of holiness. Everything. If it does not give the appearance of holiness, it should not be done. I have no idea what else I can say about this, but I hope that there's pastors' wives who have quietly bowed out and said, I can't attend for whatever reason. I don't sugarcoat a lot of things, but I will say that we have a lot going on throughout the organization that is being pushed forward, that the members are seeing that's never been done before. Again, people living all kinds of questionable lives, and they're being lifted up, they're being exalted, they're being put out in front of everybody. And none of this is making any sense because people have all kinds of knowledge of these individuals doing all kinds of things openly, openly, not in secret, openly, and they're being pushed up higher and higher and elevated and being given positions, elders, pastors, assistant pastors, evangelists. It should, if nothing else, it should raise a lot of eyebrows and cause people to ask a lot of questions. Now, that's what's going on behind the scenes as well as openly. I think that those things are happening as a direct result of the people not being aware of the governing documents of this organization. If the people do not get a hand on what's being done behind the scenes, then heaven help this organization and every other organization like it, where it seems that everything is run amok. So let me get back to these questions. But the Raggedy Ann doll, I have no words. Let me read the comments. All of a sudden, we got a bunch of comments, and I'm gonna go back to the questions. Um, First of all, good morning to everyone. Great morning. Um, I hope you all are enjoying this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful uh, Sabbath, Shabbat. Um, Baby Blue asks, how can you be a CEO without a board of trustees or board of directors? That's the question right there that I've been trying to get everyone to understand. How am I a chief executive officer if the members of the organization is not aware of any officers? You can't be the chief officer without other officers. With that in mind, there's something else that someone sent me. Now people are beginning to do their own research and talking about Florida. For those of you who are down in Florida, living there, this is interesting, should be to you, because this is the official record of the officers in Florida. And um, let me dim this so that you can see it. Okay. This is the official record down in Florida. Um, okay. Well, I got the reflection over here. Here we go. Officers, Florida record. Now I'm going to read it. And it says Bishop A.D. Cunningham. His title is Top Chief Executive Officer. Top Chief Executive Officer. How are you the top Chief Executive Officer? I don't know yet what record in Florida this is, but somebody dug it up. And on the document, it shows that he's the top Chief Executive Officer. So if you're the top Chief Executive Officer, then that means there must be other executive officers under you, chief executive officers under you. You're the top Chief Executive Officer. So my question is, who's the Chief Executive Officer, or how many other Chief Executive Officers do we have? And this is what I mean by questions being asked because of information that's being filed in official records. Um, and it says his role is national leader, CEO, and sole trustee of the organization. And then it has Apostle Jimmy Jones. His title is SGA, Secretary General slash Administrative Officer. It makes no sense to me. I have no idea what this means. I don't know how to explain any of it because I understand everything within the law books of this organization, and there's nothing whatsoever that speaks of these positions or titles. Um, what that means is the organization is structured so that the bishop, Cunningham, has primary executive authority, and Cunningham is in parentheses here. The second listed officer, Jimmy Jones, serves in a high level administrative secretarial role. Unlike many corporations, this church structure is centralized, with the bishop acting as CEO and trustee over all holdings, meaning everything that the organization has, the bishop serves as the sole, only one trustee. There's a problem here because on the paperwork, the document, It shows that there's several trustees. So again, we have all kinds of questions. And I hope that you all are keeping up, because this is why I'm splitting these videos up, because there's so much information. It's all confusing if you don't understand what information it is that we're putting out. Um, so let me get back to this list and then finish up with these questions. Guy with the camera um, says, I removed my question. This is more important. I'm all ears. Okay. Baby Blue says, that's really a rhetorical question. I already know the answer, but this is mind boggling. Yes, and I understood that, Baby Blue, but I'm glad that you asked the question anyway. For those persons who don't understand that, for them to hear this information. And this is why I say all the time, I love the questions. It gives us an opportunity to explain things in depth to other people who don't understand what's going on. So thank you again. Um, Glenn Chance says, um, that's what I said. That's what I said. Wow. Annabelle? Yeah, I had no idea. Annabelle. Um, and here, this doll is being put on. Baby Blue says, there are people watching this live video that are on different boards of directors and trustees are scratching their head because they can't believe that this is happening in the United States. Exactly, 100%. There's many people around the world. These videos have been watched in over 16 countries. Okay, over 16 countries. Um, and anyway, I don't want to get into the numbers. There's hundreds of thousands of views already. My point is that people who understand how a board operates, there's no way in the world that this is possible, but we see it going on. And it can only successfully happen if the members allow it to happen. If we don't do anything, don't say anything, don't report anything, and just sit back and don't learn anything, that's the only way that things like this can take place. And obviously, it has happened to us because we have not taken the time to learn anything. And that's why nothing was being done um, with this information. So, that said, uh, I'm so ashamed of where I came from. Tears are flowing down my face to know all these years, a lifelong number from 6 generations to find out all of this is false. Uh, but there's good news. The good news is that this awareness is coming to people all over the place, and people are beginning to ask questions so that we can see what can be done by the regulating agencies looking at this information to see if they agree that there's something wrong, to see if they um, uh, can see inconsistencies and then do what is necessary to fix whatever those inconsistencies are. That's what their job is. So this is what we're waiting for. And this is the good news, that individuals are now reviewing this information, because for years we have not had answers coming from within our leadership. So this is all good. Um, Guy with the camera, which first lady is he speaking of? Um, and Guy with the camera says, I've known Cunningham way before he was a bishop. He always seemed like a sincere, convicted man. Absolutely. Same way with Mr. Jimmy Jones, right? Look at the demeanor, look at the characteristics, look at the qualities. However, when you see what's going on behind closed doors, when you see their names on different documents, when you see the filings that's been filed with the state departments, it shows a whole another light, that things are happening right in front of our eyes, right under our nose, that we didn't know anything about. Um, Baby Blue says Deborah Cunningham marched down the aisle at M Street with that same doll under Bishop Bailey. Uh, UHOP members never cared who they had followed. I would have never imagined my years of being in the UHOP I will follow anyone. I'm very careful about following people. Yes, this is true. Um, it seems no matter who ends up in the chair, everybody just jumped right in, get behind them, and cover their eyes for the ride. Don't look at anything, don't see anything, don't question anything. Let's just go for the ride. That's what it was like, even for me. But remember, that happens mainly because individuals grow up within the organization. And as they grow up inside the organization, what choice do you have as a child? And this is why many people say that's all I knew, because they grew up in it. Not just here, other organizations too. This is where it comes from. It doesn't matter what organization, what institution. If you've grown up in it, this is why it's so hard to pull away, because your identity is tied up there. Your relationships are tied up there. Your friendships, all of your memories, your lifelong history is there. And so many people are attached because of that history, because of their relationships, because their family, because their friends, because the experiences, because of the memories. But the facts cannot be denied. A lot of stuff that's coming out is hugely problematic that needs attention so that somebody can shed light on these things. And if things need to be fixed, then they can fix it. This is why we're here. Um, and yeah, I caught that typo, Baby Blue. I meant United House of Prayer for All People. Exactly. Guy with a camera. LOL. I know you didn't mean the pancakes. Um, yeah, I saw that. Thank you, guy with a camera. Baby Blue. I apologize to those who are listening. I'm very angry right now. Um, very angry. I have to go in prayer for myself because I know I'm out of character. But don't worry about it. Again, this is why people are here, because they're hearing these things, many for the first time. It's upsetting. I went through the same thing. I did not like it. Me and my wife we went into a lot of prayer. I've given thought and thought for months, over a year and a half, about this. Before the channel, we were writing letters. I had written letters. My wife was praying while I'm writing letters. She's praying. I'm writing letters for over a year and a half and send them out throughout the organization. So our intent is to just bring light into these things so that people can ask the same questions that we asked, as well as make people aware of what we saw taking place at the top. The manipulating of these books that we are being enforced to abide by. And we're going to get back to these questions because they involve the books. My family is still a part, and we've been there since the beginning also. Guy with the camera. UHOP has a CEO. I thought Addie was the head of the church. Right. And this is where the documents in these buildings come in, because the head of the church has nothing to do with the law of the land. And that's where people get confused, because they say, wait a minute, nothing can be done here because of the rule, church versus state, right? The government doesn't get involved in the church's affairs, and the church does not cross that line when it comes to the affairs of the government, right? They're completely, totally separate. Well, that's true if the organization is being run strictly as a religious institution without a governing system. So the government gets involved with the governing system if the governing system has gotten out of line with the law of the land. That's how it works. So if there's things being done to break the law, right, then the government will come in. But as long as you're not breaking the law, they stay out of your business, because church versus state, we're not getting inside your business with your religion. However you run, that's entirely up to you. As long as laws are not being broken. But once it's seen and proven that the laws of the land are not being kept, that laws are being broken, that's when the government comes in and they, what's going on here? Let us see for ourselves, and we'll look into it. And if things need to be fixed, we'll fix it. If everything is fine, then we will confirm that everything is fine and y'all can get back to work. Right? This is what we're waiting on. Baby Blue says, you can't be a CEO without a board. The board is the superior of the CEO. That part. A CEO is not over a board. A board is over the CEO. The CEO works for the board. I am on a board of directors, and I have all of the rules and laws, Robert's Rules of Chief Executive, right? This is what we've been saying the whole time. And if we, as a collective body, all of the members understand this information, then we can move forward in unison together for the benefit of everybody in here. This is the point that I'm making. We should be coming together. We're supposed to be a one tight unit. That's where the word united comes from, right? So if we're united, then there's no problem. But there's something going on, because throughout the organization, we're not united. The organization is like this. Everybody is competing with everybody in the organization. That's not unity. No one knows what's going on throughout the entire organization. This is not unity. This is problematic. So anyway, thank you for making that point. The Alchemist, Hell on Earth. Yeah, when you're having a situation where there's no apparent rules or what have you, yeah, it can bring about chaos instead of order. So let me get back to these questions, then I'm gonna come back here. Okay. And this should not take long at all. Okay, so the next question that we had last night, and we're going to finish this up, is what exactly are these fines? The fines, and are they official? Are they voluntary? Or are they required? And who decides when someone has to pay one? That's something that should be clearly defined. In most legitimate structures, any kind of financial requirement should be clearly defined for the individuals that's being expected to pay those types of penalties. Anytime you're involving monetary penalties, the rules should be transparent. They should be documented for everybody to see, and they should be consistently applied, right? Not sometimes and not for certain people, but everyone across the board. So if people don't fully understand why fines are being given, that in itself is a problem. So to answer the question, the fines in here are made up. It appears. So there are fines that are listed. However, these books do not have fines. The constitutions are the only manuals that the members, according to the Constitution, has a hand in voting for. But what we see inside the Constitution, that Mr. Jimmy Jones knows very well what I'm saying. Mr. Cunningham knows full well what I'm saying. Miss Mickey Bailey knows full well what I'm saying. And Mr. Cuthbert knows full well what I'm saying, that the members have had nothing to do with this, according to what we're looking at in writing. That's what it looks like. The other books, the Supreme laws, bylaws, the auxiliary bylaws, and the Are You Aware? Those other three books that has um, fines in them, the people didn't have anything to do with that. The people didn't write those books. The people don't vote on those books. The people don't have any input in those books. The people don't have any say so about those books. Those books are written by the CEO and others, but the people don't know who those others are. And the people have no say so whatsoever about those books. So the question becomes, do those books govern the people if the people don't have any control over those books? If the people never even voted on those books? If the people have no say so in those books? Well, now, remember, again, Mr. Cunningham it looks like he was setting himself up to be the most powerful leader that this organization has ever seen, and to make sure that nobody could ever touch him. This book is almost ironclad. And I say almost because there's some loopholes in here that obviously some of the people didn't see, that I found, my wife found, and we're looking at. A few other people can see loopholes. So this can still be fixed in the event that we're right and there's things in here that's wrong or should not be. And this is what we're waiting on the regulating agencies to come in and take a look at. Um, so here, the order of precedence, right? It says that the supreme laws and the auxiliary bylaws, let me read the last line, shall be hereby incorporated herein by reference, with the same force and effect as though fully set forth herein. So now the supreme law and the auxiliary bylaws are being looked at as if they are also a part of the Constitution. So now the Constitution has just been extended to include the supreme laws and the auxiliary bylaws without one member agreeing to it. They're telling the courts and the world outside that no, the members did agree to it, because I, as the General Assembly Secretary, Mr. A.D. Cunningham, I signed off on it, and so did Mr. Bailey, and it says right at the top that this was revised and approved by the General Assembly. I know what that says, but this, according to other information in the book, looks like it's all fabricated. And Mr. Cunningham can tell everybody in the organization whether or not this is true. And especially if this book was printed up just like these other constitutions before they ever had the General Assembly in the first place. So the people could not have had a part in any of this. Not when you have people meeting behind closed doors, the same way Mr. Cunningham has been doing for over 18 years now, and being quiet about it. And you all wonder why nothing is being said about the information on these videos. It's because there's nothing that can be said. How can you deny information that's right in front of your face? How can you deny any information that's in black and white? There's no way you can get around it. And all of those councilmen, every single chairman who's fining people, every pastor, every councilman and every chairman, it takes them to enforce these rules and these laws that the members had nothing to do with. It takes them enforcing it to make the members of the organization continue marching in step. This is why I've said, and I continue to say, it's not for people to bow out. It's not for people to leave. It's not for people to stop. The only way that this can be fixed is if the people stay in attendance. The only way this can be fixed is if people continue staying in attendance so that you can get into the one meeting where the vote can be held by the people to overrule the entire general council and every pastor in there and vote on things to bring all these matters forward. That's the only way this can be fixed inside the organization. But since the general council, the chairmans, and the pastors, since they keep quiet and intentionally keep the members not hearing truths of what's going on according to what it looks like in the books, they keep going back to that one meeting a year and walking right out without anything being done about any of this information. And this is why every single council session that's held around the country, they can't talk about it. This is why last year, 2025, General Assembly, not one councilman, not one chairman, not one pastor talked about none of this. This is why 2023, in October, not one chairman, not one councilman, not one pastor could talk about this. These things are being ordered to keep your mouth shut while the members go through the motions and they have absolutely no clue of what's going on. So when people asking about these fines, what I'm telling you is, if you understand the information in front of you in these booklets, you will see that the people have had no input in the structure of these fines. So to answer the question, the people are without a clue and fines are made up on the spot. And this is why some people have been fined $1,000, $5,000, $10,000, $15,000. And that leads to the next question. What does it mean when someone is placed in holding? And is that a formal process? And how long does it last? Okay. In the supreme laws, it says in Article 4, Section B, anyone who has been fined must pay his or her fine or go to jail and post a bond. The bond means you have to put up money so that you can get out of jail and then make arrangements to pay your fine. The problem is none of this is legal. We've been doing for decades all kinds of things that the members have assumed was legal. But this is unlawful detainment. You can't detain someone and take their freedom from them. The law of the land did not give you that authority. But yet we see it being done all the time. So what does it mean when someone is placed in holding? That means the councilman will take people, if they were given a fine and they're not paying a fine, and they'll have a deputy sheriff, right? These are just titles. They're not a real deputy. And they will take people and lock them up in a storage closet. They'll take people and lock them up. Many of you remember 6 and M Street. It used to have a gate, right, that closes. In that bottom hall from the sidewalk entrance, in that bottom hall where you step down, and there's 2 old, very old bathrooms back there. They may not be used anymore, but they used to have a gate on it. People used to get locked up inside and they'd have somebody standing outside of that gate. They're in jail until they post a bond. It's unlawful detainment, it's false imprisonment, it's illegal bonding. Right, these are three laws that I can think of. Um, but anyway, let's continue. Um, that's what it means to place someone in holding. Is that a formal process, and how long does it last? It's a informal process in the house of prayer because it's not always utilized. But yes, according to the law, it's formal because it's in black and white. It lasts until you make arrangements. The longest case that I'm aware of was back in the day. I think it was in the 80s where someone was held, to my knowledge, maybe a day and a half, going on 2 days that weekend. But that's what this means. If there's no clear time frame or written process, it raises questions about the consistency, the inconsistency, and the accountability of these rules that's being made up for people to follow that are not agreeing with these things. Um, who has the authority to place someone in holding or assign fines? And is there any oversight or appeal process? Um, Again, that's the key issue here in any organization, um, especially one that involves people's time and money. The issue is who has that authority. Nobody has the authority to put you in jail and detain you and tell you in order to get out, you must pay money. Nobody. This is the idea behind kidnapping. This is the idea behind um, all kinds of things, extortion. Um, that's the idea behind writing ransom notes, right? None of this is legal, but we practice it. We've been doing it, and our members have been allowing it because they did not know. And again, if the members don't stop, why do you all think that every time there's a trip made, every single time there's a trip made, the leaders always, they'll call chairmans will call pastors will tell choirs and bands. If the choirs and the bands don't hear from the leader directly, but they always call and invite choirs and bands, choirs and bands, choirs and bands, because they know if they get the bands there, then the likelihood is that they can draw people because the bands will draw people. If they can get the choirs there, the choirs will draw people. Uh, so they need to make it look like the bands and the choirs are on board. They're fully supportive. The reality is that the bands like the attention. Same thing with the choirs. So that's a part of the biggest problem, though. The fact that you have large groups of people that are not questioning anything. You have large groups of people that's not reading anything. You have large groups of people that's not paying attention to anything. So, just like the song being played like a Spanish guitar, they're playing the members of the house of prayer left and right and laughing behind the members' back, left and right. Um, I can imagine conversations being held. And this is why I said in another video that it's been confirmed that Miss Madison, she makes all types of comments behind closed doors about the members' house of prayer being so stupid. You can get anything. You can get the members to do an house of prayer. These stupid, dumb house of prayer members. Several people have said that who don't even know one another. Several people have confirmed that conversations are held like that all the time. Sometimes it's the staff doing it. Sometimes it's in conjunction with the leaders. While they're taking all this money, can you imagine the conversation that's being held while they're driving the cars around the block? and the driver blowing their horn, burp, 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 and people inside, well, yeah, yeah. What do you think they're saying inside that car? You think, oh, look at my people. I just love them. We're going to go around the block 2 more times. Come back around again. Burr, 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 burr. Yay! Yay! Members, we need to wake up. They're laughing. People outside are looking and laughing. And people wait in the cold for the car to go around the block again. And when they come, burr, 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 yay! Why? He's doing it because the people have given more money than ever before. And this one sends me to Jupiter. This sends me to Mars. This sends me. We have to see that people have played games with our mind. And this is why we've talked about the idea of witchcraft, people being caught up in a spell and cannot see their own activity and don't understand why they can't see what they're doing looks the way it looks to people outside. When I look back at myself, what in the world were you thinking, Lewis? But I can see clearly now. The rain has gone. I'm no longer within the storm and the haze where I can't see. Everything is blurred. Anyway, let me finish these questions. But nobody has that authority. Nobody can make you pay money or lock you up. Are these fines on holding practice documented anywhere? Yeah. Again, they're in the Supreme laws in here. Article 4. Yes, Article 4, Section B. Supreme Laws, Article 4, Section B. Now, that's just the one talking about jail. But you'll see fines listed in every one of the books, auxiliary bylaws, the Supreme Laws, and the Are You Aware? All kinds of fines, all kinds of fines. But again, if you didn't agree to that, you didn't vote on it, then you're not legally held liable for paying nobody a fine. And they certainly can't put you in jail. But this is the reason why y'all see certain people in these positions, they never are moved. They will never be taken down because they're rewarded for their loyalty. Mr. Cunningham became everything that he became because of his loyalty, because of keeping his mouth shut, because he's doing things behind closed doors that nobody else know anything about. So we're going to push you forward in front of the people. Let them love you. Let them see you and let them think that he is lifting you up before the eyes of the people. But the whole time, the documentation looks like they're behind closed doors planning this stuff. And now the documentation looks like Mr. Jimmy Jones is being prepared to be pushed forward in front of the people. And this is why Mr. Cunningham did not appoint him to be a judge. He anointed him to be a judge on the council, right? So that in the minds of the people, they will associate this anointing to be from him. This is the type of trickery that we see being played right in front of the people. And that's why all of that stuff is being done. All of that stuff to make it look like he's behind this stuff. All of that. Okay. The paperwork appears to be showing us things that we never would have seen if we did not look at the paperwork. We should be coming up on the end. If someone does not agree with a fine, or being placed in holding, what options do they have? There should always be a path for asking questions, getting clarification, disputing a decision, or appealing a decision. But there is no appeal other than going before the CEO. And they know people don't want to do that because most of the time they're being humiliated, they're being embarrassed, they're being ridiculed openly in front of everybody. So people avoid it and they just take the fine. You have a lot of elders that can tell you they just pay fines just to get rid of the noise, get rid of the nonsense. And I keep my title, I keep my position. And they know that that's what most people are wanting to do. And so they put your back against the wall and you pay fines. All that money is going where? Why do y'all think every time they're having these meetings, why do you think they're not reading the minutes to these meetings for the people to hear the minutes? The minutes are the most important part of a meeting, the reading of the minutes, because the minutes tell you what happened in the last meeting, who said what, and it allows you to see whether or not the recording secretary documented anything that's not true, or whether they missed something that should have been documented. So the reading of the previous minutes allow you to check, confirm, and verify the information that's inside of that document, the minutes, that can and will be used later in a court of law if it's necessary. But if you're never hearing the minutes, you don't know what's being put in there. So you should never agree to allow the waiving of the minutes, especially if you were in that last meeting. And in every General Assembly, most of the time you have people that's never been there. So they don't want you to hear the minutes because the minutes will tell you a whole lot of things that you should be bringing up in that meeting. So for that reason, every single time you go to a General Assembly, the only time you're going to be there for a little while is if there's things that they want to put on the table. By they, I mean the backdoor group, right? The Constitution Revision Committee, the CEO, the General Counsel, or the Assembly Secretary. But the people, they don't want you saying a word. The people, nothing. That's what the documents look like. Okay? We have to keep on reminding you, this is not conclusive. All of these things are my opinions. This is what I'm seeing. So I'm telling you this so that you can go and verify it for yourselves, to see if you see what I see, to see if somebody else need to review this information. People need to be asking questions and people need to be answering. But if there's nobody to answer the questions, then where does that leave us? And if there's no questions being answered, then why are the people being forced to be bound to all these rules and we getting fined left and right, to the tune of thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, and millions of dollars? And nobody knows how much is coming in fines. Nobody knows where that fine money is going. Nobody knows who gets it, who keeps it, what's it being used for. There's no way of disputing a fine or appealing it other than going before it. None of this stuff is making any sense. So let's get ready to close out. There's a few more to bring all this together. I went over these about people waiting. Okay. Yeah, last ones. If there's confusion about whether a board even exists, then who is overseeing decisions? What? Who's overseeing decisions like fines and place of, oh, so if there's confusion about whether or not a board is in existence, then who's overseeing these decisions like fines and people in holding? Well, that's the connection right there. Um, a board of directors is supposed to be in place, but well, the members don't know of a board. And then it's alarming because on paperwork that's being filed with the states, it looks like the leaders are telling the states that we have a board. And what's even more alarming is in other documents being filed with the states is it looks like the leaders are saying we don't have a board. So all of this brings questions, and your question is valid because it shows that what I'm saying should be said. And every single one of us should be asking all of these questions because none of this stuff is making any sense. Um, if the CEO is doing anything, then we should be coming behind and having some type of oversight. What is the money being spent on? Who decided it? Who says that you should have the right to spend all this money on whatever you feel like? And nobody can question it. Nobody can make sure of how much is being spent, where it's being spent, what it's being used on. The people get no say so in this. Currently, questions need to be answered. Are fines and holdings being used within a structured system? Are they being enforced without clear external? Yeah, they are being enforced without clear external oversight. Yes, that's exactly what it looks like. And that's why this needs to be brought forward. People need to look into this because this should not be. And it's like the gentleman said, or I'm sorry, the person said, I don't know if it's a gentleman or a lady, um, but they're on a board and they know that this shouldn't be. Other people know that this should not be. But until people ask questions, none of this stuff is going to surface. Um, so we don't know where the money is going to answer your question. I don't know how to answer it because we don't know where it's going. We don't know who's spending it. We don't know who gets it. If documents across states don't match, how can members be confident that the system they're participating in is being represented accurately? Well, that's the heart of this entire thing. If documents across different states don't match, how can the members be confident that the system they're participating in is being represented accurately? That is the heart of the problem. We don't know whether we're being represented accurately. We don't know whether we're being represented legally. What we do know is that things are being filed. And what else we know is that nobody apparently has any authority in here to do anything about it. And what we do know is that it looks like the CEO gets to do anything he wants. And that's exactly how they're acting. They can do anything they want. And with this CEO, remember, let's not forget, he told the entire organization last year, if you're going to be in here, you're going to follow me. That was a demand. And we have a recording where he said, you didn't hire me, so you can't fire me. He said, I'm going to be here until I die. You ain't getting rid of me. These are his exact words. What CEO talks like this? How did you get to be the CEO if the people did not hire you? Well, he's telling you outright, y'all didn't hire me. What he just said is, there's people in the back who put me here. Y'all didn't put me here. We got stuff in the back that's going on y'all don't know nothing about. And so, because I'm on the inside group, that's how I got here. That's exactly what he said. Y'all didn't hire me. Y'all can't fire me. These people back here put me here. That's what it looks like. Um, how do financial expectations and participation control relate to the overall leadership structure? All of it is about control. Every single thing here is about control. And again, that's what we're talking about, the control of everything in the organization. Look at the masks, the wearing of masks. It's about control. Nowhere in the country do you have anybody wearing masks. There's no mandate for masks. None. So why is it that you don't need to go anywhere else with a mask, but when you go to service, you must wear a mask? That's to show that I got control. I have control of these people. And like he said last year, you gonna follow me. You gonna do what I say. He also said last year in Washington, last year, no, the year before that, 24, November, the announcements. He said, um, we need to make changes. And so we're making changes. And he said, no. I make the changes. Y'all follow them. This is what he said. In fact, was it 24? Yeah, I think it was 24. Um, and so what he's saying is, I'm going to make changes and y'all going to fall right in line. And nobody going to say nothing about it. Nobody going to ask nothing about it. Don't even bother coming to me about it. I'm going to make changes. Y'all going to do it. What kind of CEO is this? What kind of CEO is this? To make demands and tell an entire organization, y'all going to do whatever I say. Who can tell a board of directors, if there is one, y'all going to do what I say. But it makes sense. It makes so much sense. Because if there is a board of directors, then it looks like the only purpose of a board of directors is so that other people outside will be under the persuasion, the impression, or the opinion that everything in theirs going on the way it's supposed to be. They got a board, they have a CEO, and everything is fine. But when you have a CEO making demands of everybody in here, it doesn't seem like there's a board. And if they're making demands like that, then, and if there is a board, then that's how you know the board is terrified of the CEO. The board is not over the CEO. The CEO tells the board what to do. Or there's no board. And if there is one, then why is it that the General Assembly Secretary gets up also in Washington, D.C. to tell everybody in the organization, if y'all don't want to follow him, there's doors around with a red sign over it. Y'all can walk out that door. Y'all see how the cat's out the bag? The ones under him who's in positions to make decisions that benefit the people and the organization, those persons are also telling y'all, you had better follow him or get out. But according to the law of the land, you're not supposed to be working for him. You're supposed to be working for the people. And if you work for the people, then you're supposed to be overseeing him and making sure that the decisions and choices that he's making is in alignment with the law of the land. So what it looks like is that people are working for him, and it looks like he is being put forward by other people in the back that nobody sees. But now we know that Miss Dolores Madison has had a hand in a lot of these things, and people know nothing about it. According to what it looks like in all this paperwork. So, last question here. What should members be looking for right now to be confident moving forward? What should members be looking for right now to feel confident moving forward? Not pressure, but clarity. We should be looking for clear explanation of leadership structure, we should be looking for consistent information, such as the documents. Each document should be reflective of the other documents. It should have the same information, the same names, the same titles, the same positions should be on all of the documents in order to be confident that the organization is doing what it should be doing and the leaders are doing their part. If you see inconsistencies, that's a red flag. Transparency is the one thing that we should see everywhere. So let me say this as well. I don't think that's any more questions. Let me take a few minutes and connect all of this because this is not about one issue. It's about the full picture. The full picture here is what's going on in the entire organization and how is it that it's gotten to such a point that we don't have a handle on anything. What I've shown so far are three things. And the three things is that the documents don't match in some filings. It shows a board of directors and other filings. There is none. The financial practices are questionable. The finding of people, how much the fines are, what happens to the fines, are there any policies in place for people who disagree with the fines? Also, the control practices where there's no questions that can be asked. There's nobody answering any questions. It's do as I say, not as I do. And that's not just for the CEO, that's for your chairmans as well. That's for your councilmen as well. And apparently now is for pastors too. So when it comes to all of this information, if the paperwork is inconsistent about the structure, then the members really, really need to ask yourselves, have you seen clear and transparent policies and procedures in place to show you that you can put your full trust behind the individuals that's calling these decisions? And many people will agree that we don't have that. With that said, let me go back to the comments that are made here, and we'll go through these one at a time and then prepare to close out. Baby Blue says, do you remember the saying that the worst one in the house of prayer is better than the best one outside of the house of prayer? I do remember that. That was said by Mr. McCullough. I heard him say that a few times. The best one in here is better. I'm sorry, the worst one in here is better than the best one out there. If any one of you can make that make sense, please, uh, please explain it to me. I understand it from a doctrinal point of view, but it's false. It's a false doctrine. Um, that the worst one in here is better than the best one out there. According to the scripture, I recall Paul saying, it's not a Jew that is a Jew outwardly. Just because you're born a Jew, Paul has said, does not make you a Jew. He said there's Jews inwardly that were not born Jews outwardly. In other words, Paul was saying that there's people outside of Israel that are walking before him, and he's pleased with their walk. There's people that are Gentiles that even the Messiah said, I've not seen this faith in all of Israel. I've seen nobody that had faith like this Gentile over here or this Gentile over there. This is a Roman officer. Several Romans would do things and other Gentiles. Look at the woman who wanted him to heal her daughter. And he said, is it meet to take the children's food and give it to the dogs? She said, yea, Lord, but the dogs eat of the crumbs that fall from the children's table. In other words, if I can just get a little teeny tiny piece of what you're giving to Israel for my daughter. And that moved him. He said, y'all need to learn from her. So if we're looking at that statement being made, the worst one in here is better than the best one out there, it does not line up with the scripture. And so what I'm saying is we need to look at everything, because things were being taught and told, it's not lining up. It's not lining up with Bible. It's not lining up with the laws of the land. The things that is being said by our leaders is not even lining up with our own documents. So I'm showing you within our own documents that the stuff they're saying is not lining up. And so questions need to be asked. And if they're not answering those questions, well, just stand back and wait. The only time of the year when people have an opportunity to fix or change or do something about what's been done and what's going on in front of us, the one time a year is Memorial Day weekend, whenever they have General Assembly. That's the one time when people can come in and stand up and question the leaders and put votes on the floor for the people to outvote everybody in that front who's been a part of all of this for the last 40, 50, 60 years. This is why the General Council sits up in the front, even though they have nothing to do with the General Assembly whatsoever. They're supposed to be sitting out in the pews. They're not supposed to be sitting in the front, but they sit there to intimidate the entire organization and for one function, to make sure that they have control over the votes. This is why you always see general councilmen walk up to that mic to nominate this, to nominate that, to make this motion, to make that motion. The general council is not in charge of the General Assembly. Every single person that walks inside that building and that meeting, every one of them are equals according to Robert's Rules of Order. As the individual said earlier, this is called parliamentary procedure. Nobody has any authority over any other body inside of that meeting. No one, not even the chairman of the board, has authority over somebody else in that meeting. The only purpose of the chairman is just to conduct the meeting and make sure that it's conducted in fairness, according to Robert's Rules of Order, if that's what the group agrees to run that meeting by. Nobody can tell anybody to sit down and no, we're not going to hear you. That's unheard of. So when the council does what they do, getting up, you hear from them all the time, that's because they've seized and taken control. I called it hijacking the General Assembly, so that the outcome of everything in there is exactly what they want. And nothing is going to go in the direction that's going to benefit the people. So the one time a year when the people can have something done is in the General Assembly. And that's the one place where they try to intimidate the people and scare them the most, because they know if the people are in fear, they're not going to get up and say anything. So they keep the people in fear. But a person who's not afraid, a person who's going to speak up, a person who knows and understands the law and the procedures, that's the person that they fear. And this is why they've done so very much to keep those people outside of the General Assembly. That is why there's even a rule that they enforce, saying that anybody that has litigation against the house of prayer or the leader cannot be a delegate. It has nothing to do with that person doing anything wrong. The people have assumed that they did wrong, but it's not because they've done something wrong. It's because they know that person who has litigation against the organization or the bishop, that person's not afraid to speak out. That person's not afraid to speak up. That person's not afraid to make everybody else aware. I have no litigation against the organization. I have no litigation against the bishop. I haven't taken anybody to court. I've just been trying to bring people into awareness. So why is it that every single effort has been done to keep me out of a meeting? Because they don't want anybody who's going to come in there and not be afraid to talk. So outside of the General Assembly, there's nothing that you can do. In the General Assembly, that's the only place where the members can come in and do something. So let's continue. Baby Blue says, Brother Lewis, regardless of the outcome of this, what I would never ever do again, based on scripture alone, is make another man rich. The people in the United House of Prayer the people in the UHOP looks in property. I need to stop chatting because, again, I said I'm angry and I'm making all kinds of typing errors. I mean, they look like they're in poverty. Yeah. I 100% agree. It looks like there's a concerted effort in keeping the people in a position where anything you get, give it to us, right? And how many times have we heard, thank you for your love. Thank you for your convocation works. Thank you for your love gifts. I appreciate it. And I pray, and may you get it back in double, right? We hear that over and over and over and over. May you get it back in double. May you get it back in double. May you get it back in double. But each time the pastors know and chairmen know that people get something, right? Look at the stimulus. Remember, each time there was a stimulus program and the stimulus money was given to the people throughout the country in order to stimulate the economy. The idea behind it was to put money into the economy. by flooding the entire country for business owners to have money coming in to buy their product, to buy their goods, to buy their services. If you're a dry cleaning company, then we need people to have money to go and get dry cleaning to pay for your services to keep the business open. If you're making watches, to people to buy watches so that you can keep on making watches. The purpose of the stimulus was to help the economy by helping the GDP, the gross domestic product. And by keeping companies open, you can have jobs for people to come and get jobs. So if you're getting paid, then you have money to pay out. But during the stimulus, people was asking for that money too. A lot of people took PPE loans, and people was asking for that too. The point here is that I think there's a lot behind your statement. I think it's valid, and we see a pattern, right, of having a handout. Look at the furlough. When the furlough was had, um, how much was done to help any of the people? Zero. Nothing whatsoever. Zero. People went 3 weeks. Now, for those of you who understand, the government, they get paid biweekly, every other week. Some people in the government get paid bi-monthly, only 2 times per month. So they have to wait more than 2 weeks. And they had no money coming in at all to pay bills, to put food on the table. And this organization did completely nothing while he came out for announcement weekend. And while he was there, he rode up in a brand new Maybach. I think it was valued at $600,000, $400,000 to $600,000. And it had a paper plate on it showing that it was brand new paper plates. And that's the night that he told the members of the organization to tighten your belts. It's going to be rough going ahead, tighten it. In other words, pull back a little bit. Nothing about we're going to set up programs to help everybody here who needs help. Everybody. Not a thing was done to help anyone at all. But every time he comes out, you're looking at taking heaven knows how much money. You're coming to clear out the entire area, the cities in that surrounding area. All those bank accounts are getting cleared out. And then the love marches. Why do y'all think every time a bishop is going to be somewhere, they invite everybody from the entire organization? Why do they want people from New York to go to Miami? Why do they want people from Charlotte, Virginia, Ohio? Why do they want people from California and Boston to go to Miami? Why do you want the whole country in Miami? And then the whole country is expected to be in DC or in California and all these other trips. You're all invited. Come on back next week. Because if I can get you on the buses coming from all over the place, that's more money because you're going to raise love gift on the buses. And then when you get to the services, that's more money because there's going to be round marches in the services. And then if you're not in service, you're in the kitchen, there's more money because the kitchen's selling food everywhere. Every day that there's a service, there's hundreds of thousands of dollars being raised in the organization, in the house of prayer. Where that one house, not organization wide, that one house, hundreds of thousands is being given. And so we wonder why? Oh, that's the money. And what is the job of the bishop? To come and collect. What is he leaving behind? People in destitution, financial ruin, financial difficulty, financial problems, bills being unpaid, children not being attended to, all kinds of other issues. This is not biblical. The people are not receiving blessing after blessing. Even the sick that's coming and appearing before you are still leaving sick. They're not leaving being healed. They're leaving sick, and they're leaving even worse. We have some people dying when they come into town. These are things that people need to be thinking about. Guy with a camera. Thank you, baby blue. Guy with a camera says, your mom attended my uncle's church at one point. Small world. Told you I'm intrigued, brother. Thank you. Yeah, my mother's been all over the place. I've been all over the place. Um, I've served in the organization on the East Coast, North and South. I've served in the Midwest, in the far Midwest. I've lived in and served in, and I was the guest speaker all around the country. Many people were inviting me to come and speak because I was no holds barred speaker. I'm going to talk about everybody because he has no respect to persons, which is why today we need to not lift people up because we're supposed to be like he is and have no respect to persons. If we see wrong, we're supposed to address it as being wrong. Um, but absolutely, she's been all over the place. And I'm glad that you are intrigued in the information that you're receiving. You're in Alexandria. I appreciate that. I was there when Mr. Lattisaw was there. And I at one time was impressed by him until I saw some things that he did. And I saw that he was doing some of the same things I saw also on the other general council members, which is why I shared with them, including Mr. Cunningham at the time, that I've lost all respect for every single one. And it's because of information that I still have not shared with you all. There's so many things I have not told. There's so many things I've not shared. Even the meeting that I had one-on-one with Mr. Bailey, I have not talked about anything in that meeting that we were in for an hour where he put everybody out of the parsonage and he sent his wife and Dolores Madison, Miss Madison, the maids and the guards. Everybody's gone. Me and him on the premises alone. Nobody knows what was said in that meeting. I haven't said anything yet. Every once in a while, I think about it. So anyway, there's a lot that I have not shared. But yes, Alexandria. TJ Alchemist at Baby Blue. The worst in the United House of Prayer is better for whom? Good question. Good question. The worst is better for whom? Are they better for him? Mm-mm. Mm-mm. Thank you, TJ. I appreciate that. Baby Blue, where does the money for the fines go? How are those fines appropriated again? Somebody's getting rich. Exactly my point. We don't know. There's zero accountability. What we do know is a lot of people have their hands on the money. A lot of money is going all over the place, and the members don't know a thing. So we can either continue allowing this to happen, or we can have some things done to allow people to review it so that these things can be addressed if it's necessary and they find the need to address it. But 100%. Baby Blue says, people, please stop paying your money in that place. Remember the song, I Am Free? Thank the Lord I'm free. I love that song. I used to sing it all the time. I'm free. Praise the Lord. I'm free. No longer bound. No more chains holding me. My soul's resting. It is a blessing. Eh, that's the song. I'm free. Oh, I'm free. And anyway, love, love, love that song. Um, the guy with the camera, the power of the Almighty, uh, Holy Ghost and mighty burning fire will outrule all logic I've seen. It's a powerful thing. Absolutely, his power, um, nothing compares. Nothing compares. Just like I'm free, I used to sing the song by Sinead O'Connor, Nothing Compares to You. Every time I heard it, I would break down in tears because I would think of him whenever I heard that song. And the video, fall apart. Nothing Compares to You by Sinead O'Connor. I would think of him. I fall apart. Um, Baby Blue. The worst in the house of prayer is better for the women and the man if you decide to marry, meaning you're better off with a house of prayer man or woman than a non-member outside. That's a very good point. However, even though I think you're right that Mr. McCullough was saying that the worst one in here, if you're looking for a husband or wife, is better than the best one out there. Um, that's a very, very good point. And I think that you're right that that is what he was saying at the time. The problem, however, is for all those members who don't have a clue that that's what he was saying. It sounds as if he's saying that the worst one in here, period, is better than the best one out there, period. But thank you for making that point because I believe that that's 100% accurate, that that was the intent behind that statement. Guy with a camera. When we were young, we were taught to marry within the house of prayer, uneven, uh, unevenly yoked. And when I saw couples married, one in the house of prayer, the other not a member, and married until they died, which was 54 and 60 years, I started saying it's a lie. Another good point. Um, it was said that people outside the house of prayer is a blackout. And if you marry somebody who's not a member, then you're unevenly yoked. What Guy with a Camera is saying is when they look at married couples in the house of prayer, something is wrong when the couples in the house of prayer don't seem to last, or there's all kinds of problems and you don't see them together. They just separate. Versus outside, you have members in here who marry outside and they last for the longest time, no problem at all. Then he said he's made the conclusion something's wrong. I don't believe that anymore, that to marry outside, you're unevenly yoked because the evidence in front of me doesn't look like it, is what they're getting at. And that's also another good point. Um, and I think that that's because inside the organization, we have a whole lot of activity that people know about all over the place, and nothing's being said about it, nothing's being done about it from the top down. There's a lot of activity where things are going on with spouses and husbands and wives. Um, Today, it's worse than ever before. I've talked about this. We're supposed to be leading people towards soul salvation. But more than ever before, you don't hear about and you don't see things being said or done to lead people to soul salvation. Instead, it seems like the ones being pushed out in the front are some of the individuals that's doing the worst right in front of you. People standing on both sides of the fence, and you have some people standing on the wrong side of the fence. Some people standing on both sides of the fence, and some on the wrong side of the fence. Y'all read between my lines in case there's children that's watching. And this should not be. And what it does is it confuses children, and the word causes confusion. And our Heavenly Father, the Creator, because He's not everybody's Father, He said to Israel, if y'all see any of this, He said, put a stop to it immediately, even kill them, so that there would be fear in all of Israel. Today, we got things being done right in front of people's eyes. And if anybody's in a position and you're supposed to be teaching and you're not teaching, but you're promoting, you're excusing, or justifying, you will give an account in judgment. It's just that simple. The Most High is a jealous. This is what Exodus 34:14 says. His name is jealous. And to take his creation that he made in his image, in his likeness, and to do anything with our body, and to allow others to do anything to or with our So this is why inside there's all kinds of issues, and it looks like nothing has been done about it, and it looks like nothing's being done, and it looks like even more and more and more. What's worse is it looks like all the way at the top on down is protecting, engaging in, and promoting. Questions need to be answered. And I'm saying, sit back and watch. Every time the opportunity comes to have something done inside of the General Assembly, for those of you who don't go along with this stuff and these secrets and these things there is a need to speak up and speak out. And the only place that can be done within the organization is inside the General Assembly. Other than that General Assembly, just sit back and wait. Wait on the outside regulations to come in, regulating agencies to come in. Then I saw people married in the house of prayer. Both are members, but the marriage lasts several years and some last for months. But they're diehard believers in the HOP. The divorce rate in the house of prayer is sky high. Yeah, absolutely. Hustler, you're 100% correct. And it should not be, unfortunately, but it is. And it should not be. I'm 100% completely behind your statement. Guy with the camera says, well, I've never seen Addy dethroned, so he is most likely correct. I don't understand this one. I've never seen an Addy dethroned, so he is most likely correct. Can you please clean that up for me. I just got lost in the conversation. Um, if you don't mind. Frankie says, Frankie House, God just put this in my spirit. Satan, we're going to tear your kingdom down. You're going down, Mr. Cunningham. God is not with you on this one. Um, Thank you. I appreciate that. And somebody else sung that song. Uh, y'all remember the song, Satan, we're going to tear your kingdom down. And oh, Satan, we're going to tear your kingdom down. You've been building your kingdom, oh, all over this land. Um, we used to sing that in 8 o'clock prayer. But apparently we didn't know. Um, so he knows what he's doing. He has it in his hands, and we just sitting back, watching and waiting. But thank you so much, Sister Frankie. Guy with the camera. Ever since I can remember, it's been detractors from DM, DM, DB, now DC. Mr. McCullough, Mr. Madison, Mr. Bailey, and now Mr. Cunningham. And yes, there's quite a few detractors, but oh, I think I know what you were talking about. I've never seen one dethroned, so he is most likely. Okay. In order to dethrone, there's detractors that leave. But to leave does not change, fix, or correct anything. Leaving does nothing to change the organization, which is why they, like Mr. Jones, Jimmy Jones, and even Mr. Cunningham, tell the people, get your hat and coat and quietly leave. Because they know if you're not quiet, there's other people listening. They don't want anything to be said. The silence is what allows this to continue going forward. They need those people who know what's going on to be quiet so that other people won't know what's going on. And that's why they keep saying, you don't like this, don't quietly go. They need people to continue remaining in the dark. We need everyone here to understand the importance of not being in the dark, because the ones in the dark are the ones they're making the biggest fools out of. I was the biggest fool. I was the biggest one. And they talked about me for the longest, because no matter what you did, I'm going to support. No matter what you did, I'm going to lift up. No matter what you did. I was the biggest fool. So when I come into the knowledge of what's going on, decision had to be made. And now I'm trying to make everybody else aware so that you all can understand how you, me, every single one of us have been used for all these years for one purpose: to make people wealthy and to give them control over everything in here so that they can use everything in here however they see fit until the day they leave this earth, while you are still in poverty and taken from you every chance they get. Thank you very much, guy with the camera. I appreciate that statement. B. Mefterman, Baby Blue, the fines, tides, everything. goes to one man. And that may be true. I don't know. It may be true. Tithes, fines. Let's look at this. Tithing, fines, G class, um, McCullough Scholarship College Fund, um, Lady D Scholastic Achievement Awards. Now, keep in mind, somebody, I think it was Yahshua is King. Um, I think they said, Brother Lewis, have you ever considered that G class and Addie's Club are two different things? I never thought about that. But then I thought about it. I said, you know what? You might have something there. You may be right. Because by name, anything is not the same. It's different. So G class is one thing. Addie's Club is something entirely different. Well, where's the money going if it's going in Addie's Club? Whose money is it? Right? So what I'm saying is we need to be looking at all of this. It's not okay that all this money is being raised and no one is asking anything. We're all just saying, well, he know what he doing. It's time for us to be seeking answers. Guy with a camera. Sounds like you are learning enough to start your own church, good brother. In my personal opinion, the UHOP is a locomotive train that will keep going. Absolutely. And you are in agreement, guy with a camera, with many, 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 many others that have said they don't think anything's going to happen. However, if you step back, what you'll find is there's a lot happening. What you'll find is there's a lot going on. There's a whole lot taking place. Um, and everyone in the organization will eventually see it. One thing's for sure. In order for all of this to come to a head, it's going to take him. And let me say this too. In matters like this is where he shines the most. Because for this to be done, people can't help but know for a fact that he did this. This was not a brother Lewis, a sister Lewis. This was not the effort of one or two or three or four or five or 10. This had to be him. And if we look seriously at where this is going, what we would see is step by step by step. His hand is all in this. And it's just a matter of time. So this is why I keep encouraging everyone to sit back and wait. This is exciting. It can be sad if you look at it from that point of view, but Romans 8:28, all things work together toward the good of those who love the Lord and who are called according to his purpose. If you look at Philippians 4:6, let your mind think on these things, right? Be careful for nothing, but in all the things that you do, the things that you want, the things that your mind is considering, your goals, your objectives, make your request known to him and let him see you through. But to think on those things whatsoever are lovely, are pure, of good report, of kind, affectionate, not on the negative, the positive. This is where the idea of positive thinking comes in. To keep your mind on those things and trust him. Golden Boy says, conduct and preside. Preside over and manage. Conduct and preside. Preside over and manage. Can you touch on that again, Golden Boy? Guy with the camera says, sounds about right. Mister, what do you believe? He knew that if you marry outside of the house of prayer, you might find out the leader inside was not who he said he was. So limit what the members read and who they fellowship with. And what he's saying, uh, Mr. Yeah, what he's saying is the whole idea behind calling outside a blackout is to keep the members' attention inside the house of prayer. Because if you're associating with someone in a relationship, then the only thing you're going to talk about is house of prayer. But if you're associating with somebody outside the house of prayer in a relationship, then now your conversation is going to extend to outside the house of prayer teachings and doctrines. So they're going to ask you, why is it that you do what you do in there? And now that you begin to answer their questions as to why you're doing what you do in here, now your mind can start, and they're going to ask more questions and more questions and more. So eventually, you will bring them in, or they will take you out. Now, does that happen in every relationship where two people have different beliefs? No, not everyone. I remember a beautiful, beautiful couple. One was a member of the House of Prayer, still is. Um, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful demeanor, characteristics, qualities. Love her to death. Um, and she is married to a man who's Muslim. And he, beautiful, beautiful personality, his demeanor, not once did he give her a problem being a member of the House of Prayer. He's the head of his house, and he's Muslim. He never gave her a problem. And whenever she had a guest that she wanted to invite into their home, to allow to stay with them for several days, he had no issue. He would go out of his way to make her guests comfortable in his home. Beautiful, beautiful man. His demeanor, his characteristics, the way he lived was exemplary. That woman's husband, being a Muslim, made men throughout this entire organization so small. That woman's husband made me see a man for what a man really is. Whereas the men in the house of prayer in leadership positions, not all of them, but almost every single one of them, almost. The men in leadership positions made me see what I don't ever want to be as a husband or a father. I saw a lot. I didn't say a lot. I prayed. So my desire was to be an example that I didn't see in front of me all over the place. But that woman's husband, extremely impressed. I loved him from a distance and everything he stood for. And he never knew it because I only spoke to him twice and it was just hello. But I've admired that man from a distance. And what he instilled in his daughter, they had a daughter, and both of them poured into that young lady, and her character and her demeanor, stellar. She lives as an example for the world, her and her mother. And I believe it's because of how she was treated by her husband and how their daughter was treated by her father. So, Mr. What do you believe hit the nail on the head. They don't, there's this thing, they don't want people to talk to people outside. Um, but if they do, they're going to get people to ask questions. And so that's what I've seen as well over the years. Um, so 100% limit what the members read and who they fellowship with by keeping them inside the organization, even if it's looking for a partner, um, married partner of the opposite gender. Those things should be, shouldn't need to be, but they should be clarified. Golden Boy says maybe leaders know they'll be the weight causing the yoke to be uneven as a HOP member dating someone outside. More astute. Yeah, that's another good point. Um, Maybe the leaders know that the members inside being under teachings that's not biblically sound or supported would be the weight that breaks the yoke in those relationships, while others in those relationships would tell them, well, why? No, don't you know the Bible teaches this? Don't you know that the word teaches that? And why would you this, that, and the other? And it would cause people to question things. We're supposed to be loyal to the word. We're supposed to walk before him. We're not supposed to be loyal to somebody else around us and walk before those persons. Mr. What do you believe? Studies will show that most people are victimized by a family member or someone close to them. And even though they're victimized by a family member or somebody close to them, it's also seldom reported, is what he said. Same thing, 100%, absolutely. If you check studies, if you go online um, and look this up, you'll see that most people are victimized by family members or somebody that's very close to them. And it's also seldom reported. I have found that communication keeps doors open, um, no matter what the disagreement. Um, you will find that it's easy to come to even ground with the communication is consistently there. Um, if you find that you're trying to communicate or you've been communicating or there's this consistent communicating that's only going in one direction and you're always constantly trying to appeal to others or appease them, that can be problematic. But again, they're right. Victimization many times come from the individuals close to you. And how much closer can individuals get when you are referring to them as your father and you're getting your children to refer to them as your father? It's some deeply seated psychological and mental warfare that is also grounded in spiritual warfare because he's at work to get us to do things that go against his word. Thank you very much, Mr. What do you believe? Golden Boy says they are definitely two different things. I never saw them as the same. And he's saying conduct and presiding. Conduct and presiding. I think he's talking about the General Assembly. In fact, thank you. I know he's talking about the General Assembly. When you conduct a meeting and preside over a meeting is two different things. To conduct a meeting means to ensure that the meeting is being conducted according to the parliamentary procedure that you're supposed to be abiding by. To preside over 1 second. I want to make sure that it doesn't cut off. Okay. To preside over the meeting means, as they said, something entirely different. Presiding over gives you a little sense of authority, where people have to respect you a little bit more than a conductor. Okay. So there's some control in here as well. Um, Knowing what you are doing does not guarantee that you're doing what you know to be right. Very, very good point, Golden Boy says. Knowing what you're doing does not guarantee that you're doing what you know to be right. And this is so very true. Um, we have individuals doing a lot of things that they know is not right, while giving people the impression that they're doing right. And that's how we've had a lot of people in these positions with titles while doing a whole lot of wrong behind closed doors. But the information that's available to the people does not allow the people to see it. Okay. Um, Secretary presides over sessions. That's it. The General Assembly Secretary is what they're talking about. They are supposed to preside over the General Assembly, not so much conduct it. Preside over means you simply direct attention to. You call this one next. You call this one next. You make sure that things flow according to the procedure. Anybody who watches a congressional hearing, you'll see sometimes they're arguing, they're fussing, they're fighting, but you see the speaker or the chairman. Okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to move on. You have 2 minutes left, and they give them back the floor. Even though they might be disrespectful, they'll stop them from being disrespectful. We don't want any of that. Okay, we don't need that here. So just make your statement, finish making your statement so that we can continue in the meeting. All they do is make sure that things are being done respectfully, but they don't tell people to shut up, sit down, no, you can't be heard. Now you're outside the law. So presiding over is to make sure that everybody is heard and that the meeting goes accordingly. So when you have amendments and you have 47 amendments to be voted on, can you imagine that General Assembly will probably take 2 whole days or more? One amendment can have an hour-long discussion or 3 hours. But we changing constitutions like we're eating and popping mints with Tic Tacs. In less than 30 minutes long, you're having votes taken for 46 changes to a constitution. The time allowed in these minutes that reflect how much time it took for these votes, it shows and it proves that there was no way possible that deliberation was allowed, that the people talked and discussed these proposals to change the Constitution. And this is why the documentation is so important, because it allows us to see a picture that we would not otherwise be looking at. And if the picture that we're looking at shows that we have some problems here that need to be discussed, well, the documents can't be wrong. Lewis can't be making this stuff up. Everything laid out before us is showing us that people been doing stuff that they know about in the back. And Mr. Cunningham's got some explaining to do. Mr. Jones got some explaining to do. The entire general council got some explaining to do. These chairmen's got some explaining to do. Every pastor has some explaining to do. And just like Lucy, we need to get her somewhere, sometime, somehow. Miss Madison, you got a lot of serious explaining to do according to this documentation. It looks like everybody has some questions that they need to be answering. Guy with the camera, is it true? Bailey was not a Mason. Mr. Bailey was not a Mason before he was bishop and had to be made one to become a bishop. I don't think it was true that he had to be made one. I don't think that part is true, that he had to be made one. But it is true that he was made a Mason right after becoming the bishop, the CEO. And we had some pictures that we had shown. But again, I don't want to take time. We had pictures that we had shown that, yes, he did become a Mason. Mr. Cunningham has been in Masonry for many years. Mr. Madison was a Mason for many years, as was Mr. McCullough. So was it before or after? My understanding is it was after he became bishop. Golden Boy says, guy with a camera, same thing I was told, rushed him to make 33rd degree. Yes, that same thing was reported as well, that after he was put into the position, not elected, same thing with Mr. Cunningham. We see the documents and everything looks like this was all pre-planned, and he kept things quiet to put himself in the seat while everybody is unbeknownst to what's going on. So now he got to make it look like, right, that all of this is him. What it looks like to me is that there's a whole lot of people that had a hand in this, and by a whole lot, I mean less than 10, but more than one. And then those 10 needed the council to carry it out. Okay. But yes, hurried along and pushed real quickly to 33rd degree. Guy with a camera says, yeah, wow. And this is why Mr. Cunningham and others, they talk about, especially the general council, they'll say, behold, our master, our master. Well, the council's not saying things that y'all think they're saying. The council's talking about a title known as a worshipful master. Okay. And so people not really understanding how this stuff works. Again, the things that I'm under the impression of, it draws questions. Could I be wrong? Absolutely. Of course I could be. But the documents, it doesn't look like it. So this is where you all need to be asking questions and people need to be answering. Golden Boy says, solid. I have that distinction now. Preside versus conduct. Right. G class and Daddy's Club are different. I meant, yes. Um, G class and Daddy's Club, it does look like these are two different things. Um, Golden Boy says, I was unclear on the distinction of preside versus conduct. Okay. Uh, well, yeah, there's a huge difference. Um, and by that, once again, let me reiterate, just in case someone is not clear, they both are supposed to mean the same thing. They're supposed to mean I can conduct a meeting or I can preside over the meeting. Now, many people say it's the exact same thing, it's just a different word. If you conduct a meeting, you're pretty much the chairman. If you preside over the meeting, same thing. You're conducting a meeting. But other people who understand vernacular and they know that, especially in the courtroom, things get twisted. So to conduct a meeting, we can say, well, I'm conducting a meeting and we're just going to have a meeting. There is no chairman in just conducting a meeting. You're just having a meeting. Everybody get to talk or whatever, right? And some meetings you have 2, 3, 4 people talking at the same time and talking over one another. And somebody might say, okay, well, hold on a second. What was that you were saying real quick? You're having a meeting. You're conducting a meeting. But a chairperson presides over it, meaning all direction and attention comes to them. They direct the meeting. They preside over it. They give direction. To conduct a meeting simply means you're going to have a meeting. And I'm going to conduct one. We're going to come to my place or the place that we assign, and we're going to have a meeting. Right. So again, just wanted to be clear. Um, why is all the old first ladies still sitting on the mountain? Guy with a camera. Um, that's a good question, but they're not. Remember, when Mrs. McCullough was no longer the first lady, she did not sit up there. She sat on the side where the staff sits. She sat in that area. Um, when Mrs. Bailey was no longer first lady, she did not sit up there. She also sat on the side where the staff sits. So a better question would be, why did Mrs. Madison continue to sit up there even after she was no longer the first lady? And that's another valid question that probably needs to be answered, because other first ladies did not have that privilege. Other first ladies did not have that honor. Other first ladies did not have that distinction. But you are now sitting in that same seat, even though other first ladies are right there. I think it's to make a point to the entire organization that I'm the one in charge. I'm the quiet, silent one behind the scenes. That's what I think. It's just an opinion. Devona says, so I listened to your last video about illegitimate children. You mentioned a woman that has children to do as well. Are you referring to who I think you are? And do she have children as well? Let's look at your last video. I didn't understand that question. So, Devona, if you want to email me, I certainly don't mind answering that question. I see you just retracted it. But I certainly don't mind answering your question. But yes, I did talk about a lot of illegitimate children around the organization. I did talk about people who's waiting in line to come forward to discuss their situations. Some of them who had children, after certain things were done to them. Some of them who had children uh, with people consensually outside of wedlock. Some of them who had children non consensually um, after certain things were repeatedly happening to them by certain individuals. Some of these things were hidden, some of it was covered up. Um, some of these individuals who are also waiting, nothing did happen to them, but they are the children of individuals where some things happen to them. And they're also waiting as well. So there's a lot all around, all over the organization that many people don't know anything about. And again, I didn't know all these things till people began reaching out to me. And the more I'm completely blown away. I had no idea all of this stuff is taking place, but I'm only reporting on it because individuals are not in the position, nor do they want certain types of attention brought to them yet, until we're at a place where they know that something's going to be done about it. It looks like things are going to be done, but there's no guarantees, right? Because everything depends on the authorities. So this is what they're waiting on, as well as what we're waiting on. But absolutely, Mr. What do you believe? God with the camera. My theory is that the first ladies know the secrets. Basically, they know where the bodies are buried. Therefore, Addie has to keep them happy. What I think Mr. What do you believe is saying, if you pay close attention, Mr. What do you believe did not draw reference to everybody that sat in that seat as First Lady. And Mr. What do you believe knows that everybody that sat in that seat did not continue sitting in that seat. I'm sure, reading between the lines, that Mr. What do you believe saying, there's a lot that I know. And this is where I'm going to sit. Not asking, telling you this is where I'm going to sit. Period. And yes, ma'am. No problem. So, with all of that in mind, Mr. What do you believe is saying that because they know so much, that's why so much is being done to favor them. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. What do you believe? But that's what I believe that Mr. What do you believe is saying. This person, Mrs. Madison, must be kept happy. B. Mevderman. Pastor Lewis, do you think Bishop Cunningham will appoint a senior minister soon? No, I don't. I think that he wanted to. I think they wanted to appoint Mr. Jimmy Jones last year. But then I was telling people, y'all pay attention to what's going on, because Mr. Jones is going to be the next senior minister if this continues. If we keep going forward, he's going to be the next senior minister, because he's the one that they're pushing so fast from to Hickory, Virginia, from Hickory to New York. I gave you the history, right? Real quick, theological seminary, boom. And then all of a sudden, you're on the Constitutional Revision Committee. You don't get on that committee unless you keep your mouth shut and you are tried and tested over and over and over and over again before you are entrusted to be put inside that room. It's just like the magazine committee. Many of you don't have a clue that the magazine committee, and this goes right back to Miss Cunningham, because she was on that committee. And the magazine committee, they edit people's testimonies. A lot of people who've written testimonies have said, that's not what I wrote. So these testimonies going into Washington, these people are not writing those things. They are doctored up. There's things that's being added and there's things that's being taken out before that magazine goes into circulation. And it's being done in order to indoctrinate people so that they can put more faith and belief in whoever's sitting up there. This is what the people are saying. And when you all hear certain things, it's not to discredit anybody, it's to make you aware. This is what's going on. And keep in mind that the magazines, the purpose behind it, for people to testify and witness on behalf of the things done, right? But that's not the purpose. In my opinion, the purpose is to make more money so that they can sell the testimonies and bring in more money. You don't think that's the case? Then why is it that people who are sending in testimonies don't get a dime? They're not getting a dime, just like the band's not getting a dime. The choir's not getting a dime. There's nothing that nobody in here is doing that's reaping from the rewards of these things that your effort, your energy, your time, your money is going into. You get nothing. They get everything. Golden Boy says, not all. They mismanaged dealings with, right, Madam McCullough. Madam did not get, right, to be happy. They didn't keep her happy, is what Golden Boy is saying. But Mr. What Do You Believe is not talking about all of the bishop's wives. And that's why I said that. He knows very well there's only been one bishop's wife that they worked so hard, tirelessly, to keep her happy. And that's Mrs. Madison, the one who's sitting up there right now. Guy with the camera says, Mr. What Do You Believe? Diabolical. Yeah, absolutely. Golden Boy. You can conduct a meeting with no authority as a formality. Right. Conducting a meeting does not give you any authority. You're just having a meeting, right? We're just going to have a meeting. We're planning a trip to Salvation Army so that we can dump some contributions to help the individuals that were caught in that tornado, whatever. We're just having a meeting. There's no authority, but somebody to preside over, which is nothing more than a chairman, that gives them a little bit of authority, where all things are directed through them. Golden Boy, or informally. Right. It's either formal because you're having a meeting. If you're going to call it a meeting, that's formal. It's a formal gathering, a formal get together. Hey guys, let's get to go over to my house so that we can discuss how we're going to take the things over to Salvation Army. That's just a get together. If you're going to be more formal, hey guys, let's get together at my house so we can meet and discuss how we're going to take the things to Salvation Army. Now it's formal, but it's informal inside that meeting. Even though you're having a formal meeting, it's informal the way you conduct it because you don't have somebody presiding over it. So you're going to have an informal, formal meeting. So since there's no one to preside, it's informal. But when you have a formal meeting, you have somebody that sits in the chair and everything is directed through them. And that's how that works. So I want to thank everybody. Devona, again, go ahead and email me at your convenience. I want to thank everybody and your questions and your comments to add to this recording, this video. I meant to come on real quick Um, but I needed to finish the questions that we were answering last night. And in the beginning, I talked about the history because it's important for those of you who wonder, well, how is it that we got here? How did he get there if all this stuff is true? How is it that he went through and nobody saw, nobody understood, no one was the wiser? Well, it's because all of these things are done behind closed doors quietly. Well, now things are out in the open and they can't be done so quietly anymore. And now you understand why the invitations are always to the bands and the choirs, because the hope is to get people wherever they are so that they can make the open opportunity to get the money, 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 money. Um, so Golden Boy says, wow, what would happen if Ms. Madison pulled back even more and began sitting with the staff? Heads would roll. Another person in so deep with actions that they feel they have to keep doing it to prevent unrest. You just hit the nail on the head. And I was saying this last week, I think, that people were saying, well, she's trying to take her hands off of things by turning over the Scholastic Achievement Awards program. And what I was saying, it's too late. You can't take your hand off of it. Your hand's been on it for all this time, along with other things, right? If you all go on the House of Prayer website, thupfap.org, click on the links, the one that has to do with the McCullough Scholarship Awards. If you go there and pull up the board of directors or the staff or the information pertaining to the McCullough Scholarship Fund, you'll see there's a board of directors there. You will also see Miss Madison's name is on that board of directors. You will now see Mr. Cunningham's name. Now, many people say, well, of course, that's why, right? And the problem is we keep defending without verifying and confirming anything. And that's how I was in the indoctrination. I just kept defending. I never verified. I never checked. I never confirmed. And we have too many people verifying without verifying. Oh, I know they didn't do this. I know they didn't, but you don't. And the documentation is showing that none of us knew. They've been pulling the wool over everybody's eyes, it looks like, for all this time. But we wait so that what it is that I'm saying can be confirmed as true or valid. These are just my opinions. So I draw it to your attention to ask you, what do you think about it? What do you say? Are you in agreement that we should be asking questions like this, that we should be checking with individuals, that we should be finding out? We certainly don't need to be in a position where nobody knows anything about what's going on. All this money, nobody knows where it's going, who is going to, what they're doing with it, why. It makes no sense. So with that in mind, yeah, it's too late to take our hand off of the Scholastic Achievement Awards program, because even if you take your name off of everything, the people still going to see you sitting up there where you sit. And they're still going to ask questions. Who's that person up there? Why are they sitting up there? Is that his wife? Why he got two women sitting up there? Or one of them his wife? Well, what's the other person for? All these questions are going to be asked. Well, now, if you move and sit somewhere else, then people are going to be saying, oh, wow, Lewis must have been right. Just like I said about the money falling last year, the decline in the contributions, right? H Street to be number 2 in the entire organization. H Street to beat Charlotte Mother House. Something is definitely wrong. So now, looking at this particular issue, either it's true and H Street is number 2 because their finances beat everything in the organization other than 6 and Elm Street. Even if that's true, then it would show everything in the organization, people stop giving. But if it's false, if it's not true, and they really did not beat Charlotte Mother House and all these other houses, well, then that shows that something else I said is still true. That when these reports are given, they're not telling the truth. Well, who's going to question the CEO? Who's going to say, no, something not right with the report that the bishop just gave? He's saying that 8th Street beat us. If you're in Charlotte Mother House congregation, or, oh, I don't know, Newport News, or New York Mother House, or, I mean, any of the chairmanship houses, if you're in LA, if you're in, I mean, any of these houses, even Portsmouth, if y'all believe that 8th Street beat you, same thing with Anacostia. If you believe that, Charlotte Mission, North Philly, Newport News, if you believe that, then you're blindly just accepting whatever he says without question. And if now that does not raise a concern in your mind, well, should I just believe everything now? Because 8th Street could not have possibly beat those houses. 8th Street Mission, if it's true, well, the only logical explanation is that those houses, the people not giving no more. People are becoming aware and they know something's wrong, they're not giving. If it's not true, and Charlotte Mother House indeed beat 8th Street along with those other houses, and they giving and giving and giving, then if it's not true, then that means you can no longer trust the information coming out of headquarters. It means you can't trust what the bishop is saying. It means you can't trust what the staff is reporting. You can't trust any of them. And now we know that we can't trust what the staff is reporting because the documents are showing that the staff is filing paperwork where the information does not make sense. We know that last year when Mr. Cunningham denied saying something that was reported that he said outright openly in Charlotte, never said such a thing. Never said such a thing. But then the very next day, I played the recording where everybody heard he did say it. And you said it only maybe 4 or 5 weeks before that. And then another occasion was about 6 months before that. So when people can see false information and then repeatedly see false information and repeatedly see false information, should we then continue to believe whatever's being said? Or do we need to now take a pause here? Let's just stop. Let's look at everything here because things are not adding up. And that's all I'm saying. There is a need for the members everywhere, all of us, to look at this information in front of us and decide what needs to happen because this is not adding up. And that's all I'm saying. But the decisions cannot be made by us individually. Decisions have to be made inside of the General Assembly or outside sources has to look at it and they make the decisions. That's the only way any of this can change its course. So, as I close out here, um, I just want to say about H Street. It's funny to me. It does not make sense. It's not adding up. For them to have so much money on these G class reports, it does not make sense. That love gift reports, every time there's a large G class report with all these people, I think H Street reported nearly 100 people on the club the last go around. But two times now, their love gift was so small that comments were made. No love gift report or very, very small love gift report does not reflect that this G class report, it could not have come from these people. These people giving this much in G class would have a nice size love gift. That's been the pattern. The patterns are consistent. But to have that much G class and that much love gift. So again, I'm just saying patterns are consistent. So with all of that in mind, if there's any information that anybody did not understand from my perspective and looking at these things from my point of view, let me know. Send me an email. I certainly don't mind talking to you one-on-one. But when it comes down to the history of all these things that's been going on, then it is absolutely clear to me that Mr. Cunningham knew what he was doing while he was working on the Constitution Revision Committee, because it's jam packed with all kinds of changes. And a bigger problem I'm having is with Miss Bailey, Mickey Bailey, Mr. Cuthbert, and Mr. Jones, because they're in the know. While every single member of the organization outside of the general council, these chairmen and these pastors are not. Now, that does not mean that every pastor is aware, but every single pastor of the organization, your job when you go to that General Assembly is to stand up for the members of the congregation and represent them. My problem with the pastors is they have not done that either. They have gone to the General Assembly and kept their mouths shut while looking at things taking place, knowing good and well that these members in their congregations do not know what's going on. A pastor is supposed to be a shepherd of the flock. And when you see opportunities for the people to be taken advantage of being carried out in front of you, the General Assembly is the one place where you're supposed to stand up and say, I disagree with this course of action, and I make a motion, and then you go another way. Even if it costs you your title and your position, you are supposed to be a shepherd to protect and take care of those members in that congregation. But to sit idly on the side and allow all these things to continue over and over, year after year after year, and sit there and say nothing, you are just as guilty and just as bad as all those other individuals. So, one more comment. Guy with the camera said, that's Cunningham's old church in Anacostia. No, he was the pastor of H Street before he went to Greensboro, and he was in Greensboro before he went to 6 and M Street. All of them were by appointment. He was put in 8th Street by Mr. McCullough. He was put in Greensboro by Mr. Madison. And he was put in 6 and M Street by Mr. Bailey. Golden Boy says, pastors know they get to do this and don't want to get fired over speaking truth to power. 100% what Golden Boy just said. The pastors 100% know that certain thing is not right. Certain things they are told, you be quiet, you keep your mouth shut. They know this. I've been in pastors' meetings. I've been in state elders' councils. I'm not making this stuff up. The pastors know that everything is not right. They may not know everything that's wrong, but they know that everything is not right. And it's their job. They're supposed to stand up and speak out against the things that are not right. But by keeping their mouth shut, that keeps their title and that keeps their position. That means, by very definition, that they can't be trusted neither, and that you're not a pastor if what I'm saying is accurate. That's what it looks like. Anybody? Prove me wrong. That's what it looks like. Golden Boy says, keep your mouth shut, that you don't get to do this anymore. Exactly. As long as you're quiet, you're good. You speak out, you're done. That's the only way this can continue. So I want to thank you all once again for your comments, for your statements, for your questions, and for adding to this commentary. With that in mind, I hope that you enjoy the remainder of your Sabbath. I hope you enjoy the remainder of your weekend. And we will see you when we come back in the fellowship on tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. We did have a Bible study scheduled for today at 3 p.m. Unfortunately, something had come up last night, and it's looking like I won't be able to do the Bible study today at 3 o'clock. But we will be back on tomorrow at 3 o'clock for New Testament. And we will also have the fellowship also at 6 p.m. With that in mind, I want to thank you all once again, and I hope that you will enjoy the rest of your weekend. You're welcome, everybody, and take care.